Not all cities are built the same, and some of them, quietly, are actively working against your success. You might think it's just about crime rates or high costs of living, but it's deeper than that. Some cities steal your time, your energy, and even your ambition without you ever realizing it. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain and show you the US cities that could be silently holding you back, keeping you stuck in a cycle of stress, distraction, and missed opportunities. Because where you live matters just as much as what you do, and choosing wisely could change the course of your life. You might not realize it, but your environment has a power over you that's far greater than you imagine. Some cities aren't just places to live. They are traps that quietly drain your energy, your focus, and your drive. You walk down the streets, go to work, interact with people, and all the while, your ambition is being chipped away bit by bit. It's subtle, almost invisible, but it's happening. And if you aren't careful, you don't just lose days or hours. You lose momentum, the kind of momentum that can define your life. Where you live shapes who you become, and some cities make it almost impossible to thrive. Think about the pace, the noise, the constant overstimulation. Every honk, every crowded sidewalk, every delayed train or traffic jam isn't just an inconvenience. It's a small attack on your focus and your patience. Imagine carrying that weight day after day, week after week. Over time, it compounds, and your mind adapts to survival mode instead of growth mode. You start accepting mediocre conditions because they've become normal. You stop pushing your limits because the environment constantly reminds you that exhaustion and stress are the standard. Cities with chaotic infrastructure, overpopulation, and poorly maintained public spaces do more than frustrate you. They shape your mental and emotional state without you even realizing it. And it's not just the physical environment, it's the psychological energy of the people around you. In some cities, negativity is infectious. When the culture is one of constant complaining, distraction, or desperation, it seeps into you. You might arrive with ambition, optimism, and focus, but after months of absorbing the stress and cynicism around you, that spark starts to dim. High-pressure work environments, constant competition without support, and communities that prioritize survival over growth create a silent drain. The result? You find yourself questioning your choices, losing confidence, and wondering if your goals are even possible. Location matters more than most people are willing to admit. It's not just about cost of living, job opportunities, or entertainment. It's about energy, mindset, and potential. When you choose a city that fosters stress, chaos, and negativity, you're choosing a place that slowly erodes your ambition. But when you choose wisely, when you surround yourself with a community that inspires, a city that supports, and a pace that energizes rather than drains, you unlock the freedom to grow without constant resistance. So, if you truly care about your success, your focus, and your mental strength, you need to start asking tough questions about your environment. Stop seeing cities as neutral backdrops to your life. They are active participants, shaping your habits, your mindset, and your trajectory. Some will hold you back without a second thought, while others will lift you higher than you ever imagined. Choosing where to live is not just a logistical decision. It's one of the most strategic moves you can make for your personal and professional growth. Crime isn't just a statistic you see on a news report or an app. It's a silent force that shapes the very way you move through your day. Every city has its numbers, but behind each percentage point is a story, a hidden reality that affects real people in real time. You might think that a high crime rate is something someone else deals with, that it's a problem that doesn't touch your life, but that's a dangerous illusion. It changes how you leave your house in the morning, how you walk to your car at night, even who you trust, and how you interact with others. That constant, low-level tension is exhausting. It weighs on your mind and your body in ways that accumulate silently, eroding confidence, focus, and peace of mind. When crime is rampant, even the small daily decisions become strategic maneuvers. You avoid certain streets, certain neighborhoods, sometimes entire parts of your city. Every step becomes calculated, every glance over your shoulder a reminder that safety isn't guaranteed. And when your environment forces you into constant vigilance, your mental energy isn't spent on growth, on innovation, on ambition, it's spent on survival. You begin to accept fear as part of life, to normalize anxiety, and that normalization quietly reshapes your mindset. Your dreams suddenly compete with the background stress of the city itself, and often they lose. It's not just physical safety at stake, it's your emotional freedom. Crime creates an invisible prison. The fear of being robbed, attacked, or worse changes the way you socialize, the way you network, the risks you take. Opportunities that require stepping outside your comfort zone suddenly feel dangerous. Creativity, spontaneity, and the confidence to pursue ambitious goals are all undermined by an environment that constantly reminds you that danger exists. And if you ignore it, if you tell yourself you're tough enough or that it won't happen to me, you're gambling with something far more valuable than money or time. You're gambling with your peace of mind, your resilience, and your ability to focus on what matters. High crime rates also affect your community indirectly. Neighborhoods with persistent crime struggle to maintain quality services, good schools, and supportive networks. Businesses leave, opportunities vanish, and the social fabric frays. Even if you personally avoid direct harm, the stress of living in a place where safety is uncertain shapes every interaction and every decision. It conditions you to expect the worst, to doubt others, and to constantly anticipate threats. Over time, that conditioning becomes invisible, but it limits ambition, it stifles growth, and it quietly forces you to settle for less than your potential. Your environment is a partner in your success, or your undoing. A city with high crime doesn't just threaten your body, it threatens your mind, your strategy, and your long-term vision. Choosing where to live isn't about avoiding statistics. It's about protecting your ability to thrive. Every moment of fear or caution you carry is energy stolen from your goals. Your peace of mind is non-negotiable. It is the foundation of focus, resilience, and achievement. Protect it. And remember, sometimes the smartest move isn't facing danger head-on. It's walking away and reclaiming the space you need to succeed. Some cities look vibrant on the surface, bright lights, bustling streets, and the illusion of opportunity. But underneath, they are quietly trapping their residents in cycles of stagnation. Economic traps are not always obvious. They are subtle, creeping in through high unemployment rates, industries that no longer grow, and opportunities that exist only on paper. You might have ambition, talent, and a plan, but if the environment around you doesn't support it, those qualities can only take you so far. Every day, people wake up in these cities believing that hard work alone will guarantee progress, only to realize that the system itself is working against them. Jobs are scarce, wages are stagnant, and doors that should open are locked by circumstance, not by lack of effort. Living in an economically trapped city forces compromise. You compromise on income, on your dreams, and often on your own sense of potential. You start to believe that the path to success is longer, harder, and more uncertain than it actually needs to be. Each small defeat, each rejected application, each opportunity that disappears because of systemic limitations chips away at motivation, and slowly, almost without notice, ambition is replaced by survival. People who once aimed for leadership, growth, or innovation settle for mediocrity, believing that the environment has dictated their ceiling. It's not just about money, it's about time and energy. When opportunities are limited, every step forward feels like an uphill battle. You spend hours networking in circles that lead nowhere, applying for positions that don't exist, or learning skills that have no local demand. The environment dictates your trajectory, not your talent or effort. Meanwhile, cities with thriving economies, growing industries, and abundant opportunities allow their residents to focus on growth rather than survival. They create momentum, not stagnation. In these cities, the energy you invest compounds, but in trapped cities, the same energy dissipates into frustration, lost time, and missed chances. Being stuck in a city with limited economic growth also affects your mindset. Constant exposure to struggle without visible reward conditions the brain to expect failure. You begin to internalize limits that are not yours. You doubt your ability, question your worth, and adjust your ambitions downward. Your goals shrink not because of your capacity, but because the environment signals that success is unattainable. This psychological weight is as damaging as financial strain. It erodes confidence, patience, and resilience, the very qualities required to pursue higher achievement. The harsh truth is that your location can either be a ladder or a cage. A city with stagnant industries, few opportunities, and high unemployment silently siphons your potential. Your skills, your ambition, your vision, they all lose momentum against an environment that is indifferent, or worse, obstructive. Recognizing an economic trap is not a sign of weakness. It is a demonstration of clarity and foresight. Your success is not just about working harder. It is about positioning yourself where growth is possible, where energy is rewarded, and where the city itself becomes a partner in your ambition rather than a barrier. Sometimes, the smartest, most strategic move is not to fight against the system, but to remove yourself from it and reclaim the space where your potential can truly thrive. On the surface, some cities look like dreams, skyscrapers that scrape the sky, trendy neighborhoods, endless entertainment, and a sense of energy that seems contagious. You imagine yourself there, thriving, making connections, building a life that matches your ambitions. But appearances can be deceiving. Beneath the glamour, the glitter, and the buzz, some cities are quietly eroding your financial stability and mental well-being. Every high rent check, every overpriced coffee, every inflated service and product slowly chips away at your resources and your peace of mind. You might feel like you are keeping up, but the truth is, the city itself is demanding more than it gives, and the cost is not just money. It's your freedom, your energy, and your clarity of focus. The danger of living in a high-cost city is that it forces compromise in ways you don't immediately notice. You work longer hours to cover expenses. You cut corners in areas that nourish your mind and body, and you sacrifice experiences that could otherwise fuel your growth. Ambition becomes intertwined with stress. Every decision is filtered through a lens of affordability rather than possibility. You start measuring success not by achievement, but by your ability to survive in an environment that constantly demands more than it should. Over time, this subtle strain becomes a normal part of life, and you stop questioning whether the price you're paying is worth it. Cost is not just financial, it is emotional and psychological. When every move you make requires calculation, anxiety builds quietly in the background. It affects your relationships, your social life, and your sense of stability. Decisions that should be about exploration and growth, like taking a class, starting a business, or moving neighborhoods, are instead burdened with stress. The constant balancing act leaves little room for innovation, for creativity, for taking calculated risks. Your environment dictates what you can do, not your vision or your drive. Quality of life is more than amenities or appearances. It's about the ability to thrive without constantly counting the cost. Cities that appear glamorous but carry hidden financial and mental burdens quietly limit the very freedom you need to succeed. They push you into survival mode while masquerading as opportunity. The mental toll of living in a place where every decision is weighted with financial consequence is immense. You begin to equate stress with normalcy and sacrifice with ambition, without realizing that the environment itself is sabotaging your potential. Choosing where to live is a strategic decision, not just a practical one. The right city supports your growth, allows you to manage resources efficiently, and protects your mental and emotional well-being. It gives you room to breathe, to plan, and to pursue goals without the constant burden of unseen costs. When you understand the hidden price of a glamorous city, you reclaim control over your life, your energy, and your trajectory. Sometimes, the most empowering choice is to step away from a city that drains you and place yourself in one that fuels your ambition, where the investment you make in yourself multiplies rather than diminishes. Your environment should be an ally in your success, not a hidden adversary silently consuming your potential. Some cities don't just challenge you with financial stress or long commutes. They quietly shape your mind through the people around you. Toxic social culture is subtle, often invisible until its effects are already taking hold. You may think that as long as you focus on your goals, the environment won't touch you, but culture seeps in through every interaction, every casual conversation, and every glance at what others value. When the majority of people around you are focused on negativity, gossip, mediocrity, or short-term gratification, that energy starts to influence you, whether you want it to or not. Over time, you begin to mirror habits, attitudes, and priorities that do not align with your highest ambitions, often without realizing it. It's not just about overtly harmful behavior. It's the subtle messages you absorb every day, the sense that risk is dangerous, that dreams are unrealistic, or that success is selfish. It's the casual cynicism, the constant complaining, the normalization of excuses. When you live in a place where these attitudes dominate, your own mindset shifts in response. You start to question your choices, second-guess your instincts, and weigh your potential against the comfort of fitting in. What once felt bold and possible starts to feel reckless or unattainable. The city may not be physically restricting you, but the culture around you becomes a silent boundary, invisible yet unyielding. This toxicity is amplified when ambition is rare. In some cities, high-achieving individuals are exceptions, not the norm. When everyone around you is chasing convenience over growth, distraction over focus, you face an uphill battle just to maintain your vision. The energy it takes to resist the pull of mediocrity, to maintain discipline, and to keep striving becomes exhausting. Even when you succeed in creating your own bubble of focus, the cultural noise outside it, negative attitudes, unrealistic expectations, envy, and discouragement, saps energy you could be spending on progress. The constant battle against societal inertia is far more draining than any external obstacle. But the impact goes deeper than ambition. It affects your character and your resilience. Social environments teach lessons every day, whether consciously or unconsciously. In toxic cities, the lessons are often about compromise, settling, or survival instead of growth. You see people tolerate disrespect, accept mediocrity, or normalize unethical behavior, and the mind begins to internalize what is normal, even when it contradicts your values. Slowly, your own standards are lowered, your tolerance for chaos increases, and the ambition that once felt unstoppable begins to waver. Understanding the influence of social culture is empowering because it reminds you that where you live is not just about location. It's about who and what surrounds you. Cities with supportive, ambitious, and growth-oriented communities act as accelerators for success, while toxic cultures are silent anchors, slowing you down without your awareness. Choosing to remove yourself from such environments or to create a protective circle of influence within them is one of the most strategic decisions you can make. Your ambition, your mindset, and your future are far too valuable to let the silent energy of a city dictate their course. The people around you are more than neighbors. They are forces that either lift you higher or hold you back. And recognizing this is the first step toward reclaiming your power. Infrastructure is not just concrete, pipes, or traffic lights. It is the backbone of how your life unfolds in a city. When it's chaotic, inefficient, or poorly maintained, it silently steals the most valuable resource you have, your time. Every delayed train, every pothole, every endless traffic jam is a small robbery of your energy, focus, and ambition. You might think of these as minor inconveniences, but the truth is, they compound. Hours lost in transit, frustration accumulated from constant delays, and the mental drain of navigating poorly planned roads or public systems slowly diminish your ability to think clearly, plan strategically, and act decisively. Cities with chaotic infrastructure are not just inconvenient. They are silently shaping the quality of your life and the trajectory of your success. Consider how much of your day is consumed by movement. In an ideal environment, transportation, accessibility, and urban planning enhance productivity and efficiency. You spend less time commuting and more time working, creating, or nurturing the relationships that matter. But in cities plagued by chaos, the opposite happens. Every journey becomes a test of patience, every errand an ordeal, and every plan a challenge to execute. Over time, you stop noticing the drain. It becomes normalized. You forget that your energy and focus are finite and precious, and the environment slowly erodes your capacity for higher achievement. The city becomes a constant friction point, and friction is an invisible thief of momentum. Chaos doesn't stop at traffic. Poor public services, unreliable utilities, slow emergency responses, and bureaucratic inefficiency create stress that infiltrates every part of your life. A single failure, like a delayed medical response or a utility outage, is more than an inconvenience. It's a reminder that your environment is unstable and that you are forced to expend energy simply to survive daily challenges. When your surroundings constantly demand attention for basic functioning, your mind cannot focus fully on growth, ambition, or long-term planning. In such cities, your potential is limited not by your skills or work ethic, but by the environment itself. Inefficient city planning magnifies these challenges. When public spaces, neighborhoods, and resources are poorly organized, chaos becomes the norm. You spend mental energy navigating confusion, making countless small decisions just to get through the day, while opportunities for inspiration, connection, and progress are lost. In these environments, life feels heavier, slower, and more exhausting than it should. Even when you try to create routines or structures for yourself, the city pushes back, constantly demanding adaptation to inefficiency rather than allowing flow and focus. Recognizing the impact of infrastructure and chaos is crucial because it reframes the way you think about your environment. The cities you choose or avoid determine how much of your time and mental energy is stolen and how much is preserved for meaningful action. A well-structured, efficient, and thoughtfully planned city amplifies your potential, allowing every hour to count. Chaos, on the other hand, drains you invisibly, pushing your ambition into survival mode. Choosing wisely, understanding these hidden forces, and aligning yourself with an environment that supports focus, growth, and freedom is one of the most strategic decisions you can make. Your time is irreplaceable, and your energy is priceless. The city you live in should protect both, not quietly consume them. Education is often seen as something that happens in a classroom, but the truth is, your environment teaches you every day. A city that lacks strong schools, professional networks, or cultural opportunities silently caps your potential, no matter how talented or driven you are. It's not just about formal degrees or institutions, it's about the energy and resources that surround you. When your city doesn't foster learning, curiosity, and connection, you are forced to work harder just to access knowledge, guidance, or mentorship. This gap slowly becomes a ceiling, a limit you may not even recognize until years have passed and opportunities that should have been within reach are no longer possible. Opportunities for growth are not accidental. They exist in places where people, resources, and experiences collide in ways that challenge and expand you. Cities with weak educational infrastructure or limited professional communities deprive you of this collision. Networking is more than exchanging business cards. It is the subtle shaping of your vision, your confidence, and your path. Without access to communities that push you to be better, where ambition is nurtured rather than suppressed, your potential begins to stagnate. You may be talented, but talent without exposure, guidance, and challenge becomes dormant. Every missed connection, every unformed partnership, every lecture or workshop that is simply unavailable is a lost step toward growth. Cultural growth is just as important. Cities that lack theaters, museums, music, public discourse, or opportunities for exploration create an invisible barrier to creativity and perspective. Your mind thrives on stimulation, on ideas that challenge and expand your worldview. Without it, your thinking becomes narrow, your imagination limited, and your capacity to innovate diminished. Education is not only about information, it's about perspective, critical thinking, and the ability to solve problems in new ways. A city that restricts these experiences restricts your ability to think boldly and act decisively. Even informal learning matters. Observing mentors, learning from diverse communities, attending public lectures, or participating in local initiatives shapes habits, decision-making, and resilience. When your city offers little of this, you are forced to seek it elsewhere, often with great effort, or you simply accept the limitations imposed by your surroundings. The absence of growth-oriented infrastructure and networks quietly teaches you to settle, to lower your expectations, and to adapt to mediocrity rather than striving for excellence. Recognizing the hidden power of education and growth opportunities means understanding that your environment is more than a backdrop. It is a strategic factor in your success. Cities that foster learning, connection, and cultural enrichment act as accelerators for potential. They create ecosystems where talent is recognized, nurtured, and amplified. Cities that fail to provide these elements quietly impose limits on what you can achieve, no matter how capable you are. Your surroundings shape your trajectory in ways you cannot ignore, and choosing a place that invests in your growth is one of the most decisive moves you can make for your life. The city you inhabit should challenge you, inspire you, and lift you higher, not quietly hold you back. Weather and the environment you live in are not just background details. They are forces that shape your body, your mind, and ultimately your ability to thrive. Some cities carry hidden threats that aren't immediately obvious. High pollution levels, extreme climates, or the absence of green spaces quietly erode your physical and mental resilience. At first, it might seem like these are minor inconveniences, but over time, the cumulative effect becomes undeniable. Chronic exposure to poor air quality, relentless heat, bitter cold, or constant gray skies affects energy levels, focus, and motivation. Your environment is teaching your body and mind how to respond, whether you realize it or not, and if it's teaching stress, fatigue, or illness, every part of your life suffers. Air quality is one of the most underestimated factors in personal success. Breathing polluted air day after day doesn't just affect your lungs. It affects your brain, your sleep, and your ability to think clearly. Constant exposure to toxins can lead to fatigue, mental fog, and even subtle inflammation that your body has to fight against silently. When your energy is diverted to simply coping with your environment, less is available for creativity, focus, and productivity. Cities that allow pollution to persist are silently dictating your performance without ever issuing a warning. The struggle becomes internalized, and you may even convince yourself that your low energy or lack of drive is personal rather than a consequence of the environment you inhabit. Extreme climates are another hidden obstacle. Scorching summers, frigid winters, or unpredictable weather patterns create constant physical stress. Your body is forced to expend energy just to maintain equilibrium, and that energy comes at the cost of ambition, focus, and resilience. Seasonal affective disorder, heat exhaustion, or simply the mental strain of navigating uncomfortable conditions daily can slowly erode your sense of well-being. The city doesn't just exist around you. It actively shapes your rhythm, your motivation, and your capacity to operate at your best. Living in a place that pushes your body to the limits without giving it relief is a silent form of constraint. Access to nature and greenery is equally vital. Cities without parks, trees, or open spaces deny residents an essential reset for both body and mind. Exposure to natural light, fresh air, and green spaces reduces stress, improves mood, and enhances cognitive function. Without it, anxiety increases, focus wanes, and even decision-making becomes clouded. Your environment dictates how often you can recharge, how often you can step back from chaos, and how often your mind and body are allowed to operate at peak performance. Choosing the right environment is a strategic decision for your health, your mental clarity, and your long-term success. Weather and environmental quality are silent forces that either strengthen you or weaken you over time. A city with clean air, manageable climate, and abundant greenery does more than offer comfort. It empowers you to operate at your full potential. Your body and mind are your greatest assets, and the city you inhabit should protect them, not slowly erode them. Every decision about where to live is a choice about resilience, energy, and the freedom to pursue your ambitions without invisible obstacles sabotaging your success. Some cities are heavy, not physically, not visibly, but emotionally, mentally, and psychologically. Constant noise, overcrowding, and unrelenting tension create an invisible weight that presses down on you every moment you are awake. You might think you can ignore it, that you're strong enough to rise above your surroundings. But the truth is, stress accumulates like water filling a glass. Day after day, the constant barrage of honking horns, shouting voices, crowded streets, and unending pressure seeps into your mind, shaping how you think, how you feel, and ultimately, how you act. You may not notice the impact immediately, but it changes the very way you navigate your life. Noise isn't just an annoyance, it's a cognitive thief. Every sound that pierces through your focus steals attention, diverts energy, and triggers micro-stress responses in your body. Your brain is constantly reacting, recalibrating, and adjusting to the environment instead of operating at full capacity. Over time, this chronic stimulation erodes patience, diminishes your ability to focus deeply, and makes decision-making more reactive than strategic. The city teaches your mind to expect chaos and uncertainty, and when that becomes normal, it quietly reshapes your ambitions, your confidence, and your capacity to operate at your highest level. Overcrowding adds another layer of pressure. When every public space, every commute, and every service is saturated with people, the mental load multiplies. You constantly negotiate space, time, and attention, and your brain is forced into overdrive just to manage basic interactions. There's no room for calm, for reflection, or for strategic thinking. Even mundane decisions require energy: where to park, which line to wait in, which route to take. This cumulative stress creates subtle fatigue that is easy to dismiss but impossible to escape. Your environment silently trains your mind to operate in survival mode rather than growth mode, and the consequences are far-reaching. Tension in a city is contagious. When anxiety, frustration, and impatience dominate public interactions, they infiltrate your behavior without warning. You notice it in yourself: shorter temper, lower tolerance, constant irritation, or persistent worry. Over time, this tension becomes a lens through which you view the world. Risk-taking feels scarier, opportunities feel harder to grasp, and even your relationships and personal choices are filtered through a lens of stress rather than clarity. The city, without intending to, teaches you to shrink your ambitions, to settle for less, and to normalize constant tension. The psychological weight of a stressful city is invisible but undeniable. It affects your emotional stability, your clarity, and your ability to make sound decisions. Choosing to live in a place where the environment constantly taxes your mind and body is not just inconvenient, it is a silent form of self-sabotage. Your environment should amplify your potential, protect your focus, and give you the mental space to plan, dream, and execute. Understanding the invisible forces around you and making strategic choices about where you invest your time and energy is crucial. The cities you inhabit either strengthen your resilience or wear it down, either expand your capacity to thrive or subtly shrink it. And recognizing this weight is the first step toward reclaiming control of your life, your focus, and your ambition. Freedom is not just a concept. It is the foundation of every ambition, every risk, and every success you will ever achieve. And the city you live in plays a larger role in that freedom than most people realize. Some cities empower you to think, act, and grow without restraint. Others quietly chain you to limitations, trapping you in routines, obligations, and invisible ceilings. The choice of where you live is not merely about convenience, aesthetics, or prestige. It is about whether your environment liberates your potential or subtly restricts it. Every street, every policy, every opportunity or obstacle contributes to the kind of freedom you experience daily, and that freedom, or lack of it, dictates the speed at which you can pursue your goals. A city that supports freedom gives you time, resources, and space to focus on what matters most. It allows you to pursue your ambitions without constant interference from systemic inefficiencies, social pressures, or environmental stressors. When you are free from unnecessary constraints, your energy can be devoted entirely to growth, creativity, and strategic decision making. Freedom is a multiplier. It amplifies your focus, your resilience, and your ability to take calculated risks. In the right environment, small efforts compound rapidly because there are no invisible shackles holding you back. You are free to think big, act decisively, and embrace opportunities as they arise. On the other hand, cities that limit freedom impose subtle, cumulative constraints on your life. Overcrowding, bureaucratic hurdles, poor infrastructure, and social or cultural pressures quietly dictate how you spend your time, where you invest your energy, and even how you think about your own potential. In such places, every decision is filtered through external limitations: what's safe, what's feasible, what's socially acceptable, rather than through a lens of ambition and vision. Over time, these small restrictions add up, forming chains that are invisible but powerful. You begin to accept compromise, to rationalize settling for less, and to internalize limitations that were never yours to begin with. The freedom factor is also deeply tied to personal agency. Cities that offer autonomy, access to resources, and supportive communities create an environment where taking responsibility for your success is natural. Conversely, environments that restrict mobility, growth, or opportunity condition you to think small and act cautiously. In essence, your surroundings either train you to expand your limits or to live within invisible boundaries, and the difference is profound. Choosing the right city is therefore one of the most strategic decisions you can make. It is not simply where you live, but where you grow, where you thrive, and where you are allowed to reach your highest potential. Understanding the freedom factor means seeing beyond the surface of a city, the streets, the skyline, the amenities, and evaluating how it shapes your life, your decisions, and your energy. A place that fosters freedom empowers you to create your own rules, pursue bold goals, and invest fully in your growth. A city that constrains freedom may appear attractive, convenient, or prestigious, but in reality, it quietly restricts what you can achieve and who you can become. Freedom is not guaranteed, it is earned, but the environment you choose determines whether you have the room to earn it at all. The cities you inhabit, the ones you embrace or avoid, either serve as accelerators for your ambition or invisible chains that hold you back, and recognizing this is the key to reclaiming control over your life, your choices, and your future.